Hello, and welcome back to Speak More Fluently.
Great to be here.
Have you ever found yourself struggling a bit to describe that amazing meal you had?
Or maybe feeling lost trying to follow an English recipe. Happens to the best of us.
Exactly. So today, we're doing a deep dive into the language of food and cooking. It's something we all deal with, like, daily.
Absolutely. And stick with us because, honestly, by the end of this, you'll have picked up loads of useful English.
Yeah, you'll not only understand more, but hopefully feel way more confident talking about food. Making it sound natural, engaging.
It's really practical stuff you can use straight away.
We're going to cover, well, everything from the basics in your kitchen cupboard right through to some fun idioms native speakers throw around.
Ready to sharpen those language skills?
Let's get started.
Okay, so food, it's pretty universal, isn't it?
Totally.
And getting the hang of the English words for it, well, it just opens up so many conversations if you're traveling, cooking, or just, chatting.
So where do we begin? The basics.
Yeah, let's start with the absolute foundation, the core ingredients that make up our meals.
Okay, so the building blocks. When we think about what we eat, we often put things in categories, right?
Uh-huh.
Like the sweet stuff we enjoy. Apples, bananas, cherries, grapes, mangoes.
Those everyday fruits, exactly. And then you've got your vegetables, super important for a balanced diet.
Right, things like carrots, broccoli, spinach, peppers, zucchini.
These names are common, sure, but actually using them comfortably, that's the first step.
Yeah.
Did you know the word broccoli actually comes from Italian, broccolo?
No way. What's that mean?
It means the flowering crest of a cabbage. Little things like that. Sometimes they help the words stick,
That's actually really interesting. Okay, so fruits, veg. What about proteins, the things that fill us up?
Yes. Chicken, beef, pork, and plant-based options like tofu or seafood like shrimp. Staples everywhere.
True. And we can't forget dairy, can we?
Definitely not. Milk, cheese, yogurt, butter, cream. So fundamental in, tons of dishes. Breakfast, desserts.
It's funny how dairy use varies so much around the world, though.
It really does. Okay, moving on. Grains and legumes. They're like the base for so many diets globally.
Yeah, energy providers. Rice, pasta, quinoa, oats.
Yeah.
Bread, of course.
Essential stuff. And let's not forget legumes. Think beans, lentils, chickpeas, peas.
Oh, yeah, really nutritious.
And so versatile. They pop up in some really old, really loved recipes worldwide.
Okay, so we've got our ingredients list building up. Now, how do we actually cook them? What are the key cooking verbs in English?
Yes. Knowing these is absolutely vital. Like for understanding recipes or just talking about how food was made,
right.
We can start with boiling. That's cooking something in water that's, super hot. You see the bubbles constantly rising and popping.
Got it. And steaming. That's different, right?
Yeah, steaming uses the steam, the vapor from boiling water. It's gentler, cooks the food, and helps keep more of the nutrients in.
Okay. And then there's frying. Probably a crowd pleaser.
Probably. Yeah, cooking in hot oil. And that can mean just a little bit of oil in a pan.
Pan frying.
Exactly. Or fully submerging the food in hot oil, which is deep frying.
Yeah.
That gives you that amazing crispy texture.
Yeah. What about sautéing? I hear that a lot.
Sautéing is quicker, small amount of oil, medium-high heat. Great for cooking vegetables fast, keeps them a bit crisp.
Okay. And oven cooking?
Right, you've got baking and roasting. Both use dry heat in the oven.
Is there a difference?
Generally, yeah. Roasting often refers to bigger cuts of meat or vegetables and usually takes longer. Think roasting a whole chicken versus baking cookies.
Makes sense. And grilling. Love that smoky flavor.
Me too. Grilling is cooking over direct heat. Gives you those nice char lines sometimes.
Okay. Are there any gentler methods?
Definitely. Poaching is one. You cook food really gently in liquid that's just below simmering. So tiny bubbles, not a rolling boil.
What kind of things do you poach?
Often delicate things like eggs or fish. It keeps them really tender.
I see.
And one more technique you might come across is blanching.
Blanching? What's that?
It's a kind of a two-step thing. You quickly dip food, usually vegetables, into boiling water.
Okay.
And then immediately plunge it into ice water.
Why would you do that? Seems weird.
But it actually stops the cooking instantly and helps keep the bright color and a nice crisp texture. It's a neat little trick.
Huh. Clever. Okay, so we know the ingredients, we know some cooking methods, but you need tools.
You definitely do. I can't cook much without the right equipment.
So what are the essential kitchen tools we should know in English?
Well, some things you just can't manage without a good knife, obviously, for chopping, slicing.
And a cutting board. Please use a cutting board.
Yes. Protect those countertops. Then for the stoves, a saucepan is your basic pot for, like, boiling water, making sauces.
And a skillet. Or frying pan.
Right, same thing, basically.
Yeah.
Perfect for your frying, your sautéing.
Okay. And pasta lovers need a colander, right?
Yeah.
For draining.
Essential. And for mixing, a whisk is great.
Yeah.
Beating eggs, making batter smooth, getting rid of lumps.
And the trusty spatula. For flipping pancakes or stirring things.
Can't live without a spatula. Oh, and if you're following recipes closely.
Which is great practice for English.
Exactly. Then measuring cups and spoons are key. For getting the amounts just right. Precision matters sometimes.
Definitely. Okay, tools down. What about the actions, the verbs we use in the kitchen?
Yeah, these action verbs really bring a recipe to life. You'll see chop all the time. Just means cutting food into smaller bits.
Okay. And slice.
Slice is usually into thin, flat pieces, like slicing bread or tomatoes.
Right. And dice. Is that different from chop?
Yeah, dice usually means cutting into small, neat cubes, like dicing an onion. More uniform than chopping.
Got it. And mince.
Mince means chopping really, really finely, almost like a paste. Think minced garlic or ginger.
Ah, okay. What about mixing actions?
Well, stir is the general one, just mixing with a spoon or spatula.
Uh-huh.
But whisk is more specific. It's beating quite hard, usually to get air into something, like whisking egg whites or cream.
Okay. And simmering. We mentioned that with poaching.
Right. Simmer means cooking gently just below boiling point. You see maybe a few small bubbles rising now and then.
And one more. Marinate.
Ah, yes. Marinate is when you soak food, usually meat or tofu or something, in a liquid with seasonings, herbs, spices, oil, acid before cooking.
To add flavor.
Exactly, to let all those lovely flavors soak in.
Okay, this is great. We're building a really solid vocabulary base.
Yeah.
Ingredients, methods, tools, actions. But how do we actually describe the food, the taste, the texture?
Yes, adjectives are key here. Think about your favorite dishes. How would you describe them?
Well, maybe something is spicy, like hot from chili.
Perfect. Or maybe it's savory, that rich, satisfying taste that isn't sweet. Meats, cheeses often have that umami, savory quality.
Right, and texture is huge too, like crispy.
Oh, yeah, everyone loves crispy, that firm, crunchy feel. Fried chicken, chips.
Or the opposite might be tender, something easy to cut and chew.
Exactly, like a perfectly cooked piece of meat or well-cooked vegetables.
What about creamy?
Creamy suggests smooth, rich, thick texture, like a good sauce or yogurt or ice cream.
And smell. Food smells amazing sometimes.
It does. We'd say it's aromatic. A strong, usually very pleasant smell filling the kitchen. Think herbs, spices, baking bread.
Okay, so using those words makes descriptions much better. Now, sometimes words just seem to go together naturally in English, right? Especially with food.
Absolutely. We call these collocations, or sometimes they involve phrasal verbs. Using them makes you sound much more fluent.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. Like you might whisk up some eggs or batter quickly.
Okay.
Or if you have a big roast chicken or a piece of meat, you carve into it to serve it.
Right.
In recipes, you often need to stir in ingredients one by one.
Yeah, I've seen that.
If you've got leftovers, you might heat up some soup or maybe heat up some oil before you start frying.
Uh-huh. And if things are cooking too fast?
You need to turn down the heat. Simple as that.
And the chore we all face. Clean out the fridge.
Huh. Yes, definitely a common phrasal verb related to food storage.
Okay. Now, for the really fun part. Idioms. Those phrases that don't mean what the individual words suggest.
Yes. Food idioms are fantastic. They add so much color to your English.
Like saying something is a piece of cake.
Exactly. Means it's super easy.
Or someone spills the beans.
They've revealed a secret they weren't supposed to.
Huh. Okay, what else?
How about butter someone up?
Ooh, what's that? Sounds greasy.
It kind of is. It means flattering someone, being extra nice, usually because you want a favor from them.
Ah, I see.
And a classic, bring home the bacon.
That means earning the money for the family, right? Being the breadwinner.
Precisely. And if you want to summarize something quickly,
You say it in a nutshell.
you got it. Short and concise.
These are brilliant. Using them really makes you sound more natural. And, as we try food from different places, we learn new words, too.
Definitely. Talking about international cuisines is common. Knowing some key terms helps.
Like what?
Well, think Italian cuisine. Words like pasta, pizza, risotto immediately come to mind. Or Japanese cuisine. You hear sushi, tempura, ramen,
Okay,
tacos, enchiladas, guacamole, instantly recognizable.
And Indian. So many amazing dishes.
Curry, naan bread, biryani are probably some of the most well-known terms.
Right, and maybe Middle Eastern.
Yeah, things like falafel, hummus, shawarma, delicious. Knowing these helps you talk about food experiences, restaurants.
It really broadens your conversational range, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. So, wow, we've covered a lot today. Basic ingredients, cooking methods, tools, actions, adjectives, those natural word pairings, idioms, even international dishes.
Yeah, quite a menu. So how can listeners really put all this into practice, make it stick?
Well, the best way is active use. Try this. Think about the last meal you ate. Seriously, pause and think.
Okay.
Now try describing it out loud, just to yourself maybe, in English. Use as many of these new words and phrases as you can.
Could you give an example, like maybe using a few things we talked about?
Sure. You could say something like, last night I roasted a tender chicken with some really savory herbs, and then I whisked up a quick creamy sauce to pour over it.
Nice.
Honestly, preparing it was a piece of cake, see? You're using roasted, tender, savory, whisk up, creamy piece of cake.
That's a great example. It really strings the vocabulary together.
Exactly. The more you actively try to use it, the more natural it feels. You could also, read English recipes online, spot the verbs, the tools.
Or watch cooking shows in English. Pay attention to how they describe things.
Perfect. Listen for those adjectives, those action verbs.
Okay, so just to quickly recap, we looked at core foods, fruits, veg, proteins, dairy, grains, legumes.
Then those essential cooking methods: boiling, steaming, frying, sautéing, baking, roasting, grilling, poaching, blanching.
Don't forget the kitchen tools: knives, boards, pans, whisks, spatulas, measuring things.
Then the action verbs: chop, slice, dice, mince, stir, whisk, simmer, marinate.
Plus those lovely descriptive words.
Yeah.
Spicy, savory, crispy, tender, creamy, aromatic.
Then the natural combinations like whisk up, stir in, heat up, turn down.
And those fun idioms: piece of cake, spill the beans, butter up, bring home the bacon, in a nutshell.
And finally, touching on international cuisine names.
Right. So building your vocabulary here isn't just about learning lists of words, is it?
Not at all. It's about improving how effectively you communicate about, well, a really basic and enjoyable part of life.
Yeah, those everyday chats about food, ordering in restaurants, talking about recipes.
Yeah.
They just become easier, more fluent.
And way more enjoyable.
Definitely. So here's a little challenge, maybe something to think about.
Ooh. Yeah.
The next time you have a conversation in English, try consciously, deliberately, to use maybe three new food words or phrases we talked about today.
Nice goal. Just 3.
Just 3. See how it feels. Keep practicing, keep exploring. You might find your English fluency really starts cooking.